Welcome back, everybody, to the podcast. Today, we're diving into a topic that affects every single one of us. It's healing, transformation, and finding peace when life feels so overwhelming, and most especially when navigating the heavy burden of grief. So we are so honored to host a truly unique expert in human transformation, Tabatha DeBruyn. Tabatha is not just a therapist or a coach. She's a certified transformational breath master and holds the powerful distinction of being one of the only 9D somatic breathwork practitioners in the world. I'm excited. Today, Tabatha's going to kind of walk us through how breath acts as the key to unlocking profound healing from stress, addiction recovery, and most importantly, how we can finally find a navigable pathway through the overwhelming ocean of grief. So let's dive right in. Tabatha, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to share.
Yes, awesome. Just for the listeners here, Tabatha and I actually live in the same town, which is so awesome. And we've recently met, so yay, I have a new friend. Let's start off with telling me about yourself. Tabatha, what brought you to breathwork?
I believe when the student is ready, the teacher will come, and I was in need of the modality. It came to me shortly after my mom had passed, and I was a caregiver for her for a long time. She'd been sick for over 10 years, and mom passed early. She passed at 68 years old. But because we had 10 years together, and as a transformational practitioner, I had all kinds of modalities that I tapped into, and I thought, we have left nothing unsaid. We have done the things we could do, and I know I will grieve, but I didn't realize the depth of grief that I would feel. And at that point, I was fine when I was working with other people, holding it together. And the moment I was by myself, then functional depression came in, and I was struggling with panic attacks, and I was having trouble sleeping. And that's when I found somatic breathwork. And on the other side of my very first somatic 90-minute journey, I was a very different person with a great sense of peace in my body that I hadn't felt in a long time. And I knew I wanted to dedicate my life to using this modality to help other people like it had helped me.
That's so powerful, It's so funny. My mom also passed when she was 68.
Really?
And so, yeah, I'm excited about talking about this today. I think that a lot of people are very busy, have busy lives. And I was driving in my car yesterday on my way to yoga, and I was feeling a little sad. And I was like, oh, gulp, can't do this right now. I've got yoga, I've got stuff to do. When will I prioritize a good ugly cry session? That's the point that I'm at. And a lot of people, that's ridiculous. Most of the time I let it go, but because I have to be on or present or doing a podcast or going and teaching yoga, I kind of need to be present and don't allow myself to kind of let go. So to that point, I completely hear you. So you're a transformational breath master. How does this deep breath work differ from simple mindful breathing or meditation that we kind of familiar with? How does it work?
Well, there's two parts to that question. As a transformational practitioner, I take people from where they are and what they're feeling. They come to me when they want to feel different and net different results. As a breath master, I use breath as the through line because what I do is I change the physiology in the body by using the breath, a particular kind of breath for a particular result. So I teach that. When we change the physiology of the body, then I move into the psychology of the mind, because you can't change something in the same energy that you've created it. So when the body feels safe or activated, then we move into the psychology. And then because I use breath work, I can move into not just the conscious mind, what we're aware of. Quite often, why we're feeling stuck or sad or frustrated or depressed or coping in different ways that aren't serving us is because of things that are buried in the subconscious mind. So through breath, I activate the physiology, then I
Okay.
move into the psychology, and then we go deeper in a really safe way into the subconscious mind to untangle what's not working, reprogram, and bring them out the other side. So when people work with me, they very quickly see a difference because they feel the difference. and then they are thinking differently, and then they're innately motivated to act differently. So
Mm.
that's really the combination of somatic breath work.
Somatic, tell me about 9D somatic breathwork. That's in your bio. Some of the people are like, oh my gosh, it's like years of healing in one day. I want to know about this stuff. So what is the word matic? What is that?
Somatic is using the innate wisdom in the body for healing.
Okay.
Soma meaning body,
Mm-hmm.
and then we work with the mind. So that's what it is. We use the breath work to actually help to heal the body. Now,
Okay.
what 9D breath work is multisensory audio along with particular breathwork techniques for a particular amount of time to net a particular result. So when I say multisensory audio, we use headphones. They can be earbuds. If you come and do something with me in person, they're actually noise canceling. But even if you use earbuds, because most of my work is done online all over the world, and you don't know where the stereo sound is coming from. And that's intentional because it starts to busy our conscious mind. That monkey mind never seems to want to stop, especially if we are stuck in some of the ruminating loop patterns. So
Yes.
we start to busy the brain with stereo sound. We also use binaural beats, which are particular beats that actually calm the brain waves and help you go into a meditative state faster than if you a lot of people struggle quieting that monkey mind.
Yeah.
And so the binaural beats help, but we also use particular frequencies. Music evokes emotion, and emotion can help us heal. Emotion can help us lock in new patterns of thought. So we use particular frequencies, we use particular music, but we also use what they call NLP, which is a fancy term. It's neuro-linguistic programming for powerful language that the brain can latch onto to
Yeah.
reprogram. I'm also a rapid transformational hypnotic therapist. So in the breath work, when we activate, we can decrease the blood flow to the prefrontal cortex in the brain. It actually changes the body and the functioning of the brain. But when we do that in a very safe way, that's when the subconscious mind can be open, more suggestible to the powerful thoughts that they really want. So when we work together, that's the beginning, but the subconscious mind continues to repeat the good programming that are going to help them get to where they really want to be. And there's 9 different dimensions of sound that I use along with the breathwork practices. But not only that, you also have a guide. We all
Mm.
know, you mentioned like you have to compartmentalize, you've got to be on for everyone. And when you come to a trusted facilitator who knows what they're doing, they're trauma informed, you feel safe.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest thing. We want your body to feel safe, for your mind to know it can feel better, and we can let go of what no longer serves you and move into what does. So you've got a compassionate witness. You've got
Mm.
somebody who is going to help you go a little bit further than you might do on your own,
Yeah.
and help you move beyond where you are and show
Yeah.
you some of those blind spots to get to where you want to be.
I just think there are so many people that need this, myself included, where even, maybe 15, 20 years ago, this kind of stuff we didn't talk about. I don't even know if it was available. Maybe it was, and it probably was considered hocus pocus or something very weird and out there, and it had a stigma. And I think that people are finally coming to and realizing that this beautiful being that we are is incredible and wants to heal itself. I love that you talk about binaural beats. I know about that as well. I use that for my yoga. And the NLP part of it, that is fantastic. I've actually learned a lot about it from other people that have done it. So I think this is great. And I can't wait for you and I to have lots of conversations and journey together. So can we just circle back just a little bit? Because I think for some of the listeners, they've maybe never ever heard of this stuff before. Let's talk a little bit about the nervous system and calming the nervous system and the vagus nerve and what is the connection with that. I love this.
Amazing. The vagus nerve is a nerve that goes from your brain to every single organ in the body, and its ultimate job is to help you feel safe. And most people, unbeknownst to them, and many times, aren't feeling safe. So, what I'd love to do is in one breath show you your breath can be your superpower. It's like your secret weapon. In one breath, I can help you go from where you're probably sitting right now, which is fight, flight, freeze, which is the sympathetic nervous system. And many of you who are listening may be thinking, oh, I don't think I'm there. But if you're breathing in and out through your mouth and it's fairly shallow, and it goes into your chest, it means that you are inhaling longer and then you're just not even concentrating on the exhale. And that's what most people are like all day long because breath, we don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
It's in that automated nervous system. We just keep going in our frenetic pace. We're getting everything done. But as you can see, I'm breathing in and out short through my mouth and not along on the exhale. So if you will all just give me one breath, and just notice how you feel on the other side of it. We're going to take a deep breath in through the nose, and you're going to filtrate the air, of course. The nasal passage is the natural filtration system, but we're going to breathe really deep into our belly, which is weird for people. Most people rock hard abs, tummy pulls in, and they pull into their chest. But if you think about bringing air into the body, that would mean it would inflate like a beach ball.
Mm.
So I'm going to count us in. I would love for us to take a deep breath in through the nose and push the belly out like you're inflating a beach ball. In 3, 2, 1, take a deep breath in, belly comes out. Now breathe out like you're breathing through a straw longer on the exhale. That one breath took us from the sympathetic nervous system, fight, flight, freeze, into the parasympathetic system, where that's rest, digest, and heal. In through the nose, inflate into the belly, out through the mouth, longer on the exhale. When you do that consciously, and that's what I do, I help people consciously in their awareness, becoming aware of how I'm breathing. If you had a heart rate monitor on in that 20-second breath, your heart rate would have likely gone down. Your blood pressure would have gone down. But what a lot of people don't know is they had more blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. The beautiful thing about that is it helps your brain work really well. That's when you can respond as opposed to go into fight, flight, freeze, and react. That's how you can come up with a lot of different problem solving.
Yeah.
That's your ability to open that up and you feel calm. You don't feel like you're
Mm.
fighting for your life in ways. The sympathetic nervous system, fight, flight, freeze, it's there for a purpose, but for short periods of time.
Yeah.
I heard a stat that almost 90% of our hospital visits currently are
Yeah.
connected to this chronic stress, this fight, flight, freeze response, because the body's only meant to be there for short periods of time. If you're in
Yeah.
danger, of course, you want your blood to go away from the brain into the muscles so you can get yourself away. But most of the time, we would like to be in balance or
Mm.
in the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's just learning to breathe in through the nose and out longer on the exhale. But the more you practice it, the more that becomes automated.
Wow. It's so powerful. I can so relate because when I teach yoga, I always say, you're guaranteed to feel better when you get off your mat. If it was anything but just breathing in and out and literally guiding breath, because we just, as you say, we just don't breathe deep enough. Can you elaborate on releasing stored emotions? I know it's central to your work. So where exactly are these emotions stored? This is an emotion. I'm a physical being. What really happens physiologically during a session that allows you to kind of have this release, though?
So your emotions can be stored in all different parts of your body. You stub your toe, You don't want to make a sound out loud. You shove it down, and all of a sudden your hip hurts. You, something happens, someone says something, you take offense to it, but you can't handle it right now, or it's not the right place, or you don't know what to say. You shove it down, you store it down, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden your chest cavity gets tight. Like we store our emotions in all different parts of our body.
Yeah.
But as you
Yeah.
said earlier, sometimes you just need to compartmentalize. I need to be on. I've got the podcast. So your body puts that into the subconscious mind. So you've got it in your emotional body, your physical body, but also your spiritual body. So what we do is we use conscious, connected, active breathing. So in a short period of time, we put you into fight, flight, freeze on purpose. That activates the body. And again, because it's a short period of time and done intentionally, it's very, very safe to do as long as you don't have, like, you wouldn't want to do this if you were pregnant. If you're pregnant, we want to downregulate. We want to keep you in a balanced state. If you're prone to seizures or heavily medicated, but otherwise, if you would do a light workout in a gym, for most people, conscious, connected, active breathing for a short period of time,
Mm.
especially with a facilitator, can be extraordinary. What it
Yeah.
looks like is you breathe really deep in through the mouth rather than the nose, and you breathe in longer on the inhale and shorter on the exhale. So it sounds like
Mm.
this. You don't even think about the exhale. And if you do even 5 of those, all of a sudden you don't need a cup of coffee. You're activated. You've got movement in the body, a bit of heat in the body. And that's where we can actually move that adrenaline. We can actually use cortisol to our advantage. Our body is this brilliant pharmacy as long as we're using it the way we want for the things
Mm.
we want. So what I do is I activate the body, and you've got the headphones on. So we are probing into the subconscious mind. You
Mm.
don't relive anything. You are fully safe. You know where you are. You are aware of what's going on, but you don't have the mask up like you normally would. You're not having to talk to somebody. We're literally using the wisdom of the breath, the wisdom in the body to let go of that pent up energy and tension that is stored in all different places. The body's brilliant. All of a sudden, you start moving. You start actually bringing that to the surface. And then at certain times, we do a breath hold. And
Mm.
while you hold your breath, it's like it gathers all of that stuff we want to let go of. And then we will release it with a sigh. Sometimes I give an extra pillow. Sometimes you grab a pillow and you release it with a scream if you feel so inclined. And when people do, they're like, wow, that was amazing. But sometimes our body just starts to release in different ways because it feels safe, it's at ease, and it knows that this is in my highest and best good. And the eyes start leaking. I'm like, my eyes are sweating. I don't even know why. It's not like I'm reliving this, but the body's letting go of what it doesn't want anymore.
Yeah.
Sometimes you shake, sometimes you laugh, sometimes you sweat like a piglet, and sometimes cold, old, stale energy comes out of the body. But on the other side of it, people say, I feel lighter. I feel joy. I feel happy. I feel I can
Yeah.
breathe again. And I didn't
Yeah.
even have to talk about it. Now, I am all for talk therapy. I am all for all of the modalities that serve you. But if you're
Yeah.
looking for something that can unlock things in the body and
Yeah.
the mind, and you
Yeah.
don't have to talk about it, and you can leave it on the mat and let it go,
Yeah. Yeah.
give it a try.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love the screaming part. I've said to a bunch of girls, about 2 years ago, I think I saw a reel on Instagram of how these girls stand in a forest and they all start to scream. And the one girl screams and she really like gives this banshee scream and she lets it go. And then you can see different personalities of how they are able to let go. Not all of us can do that. It also takes a lot of courage and bravery. And also some people have actually never heard their own voice scream. And it's quite interesting. And the one lady, they all look at her and she kind of does like a little whimper scream. And they're like, no, that's not good enough. And then they ask her again. She attempts it again and she just doesn't really do anything. And by the third time, she starts to scream and she starts to bellow like an animal. And then she starts to cuss and swear and then shout and say things like, you've never heard in your life. And she probably got the best outlet ever. And I think it's once we just can learn to tap into it in a very small way and have that trust, like with somebody like you, where you feel safe, you can literally let all of that stuff go. And I love that story. But,
Beautiful.
for you, one of your testimonials, I see it felt like 10 years of healing in one session, somebody said. And so it's really powerful for you to be able to help people like this. I think the big thing that we wanted to cover today was to really get into talking about grief. So many people feel so lost navigating grief. And everybody, it doesn't matter when it happens on the timeline, we're all going to, have to deal with grief in some way, whether it might not have to be losing somebody. You could, I used to have this YouTube channel where I was helping people immigrate over to Canada. And I've immigrated. I've been here for 8-9 years. I'm now a citizen, but you have to grieve and mourn your old life, your family, everything. It's quite a process. And it's one part of grief as well. And so it feels like this terrible for me, I don't know, it's a messy ocean. It's overwhelming. What, Tabatha, do you think is the single most biggest misconception that people have about grief?
I think it would be that there's only one way to grieve. There's a right and a wrong way to grieve, and there isn't. It is different for everyone. And taking the comparison out of my grief is not as bad as her grief is, or I'm grieving a pet, or I'm grieving an identity change, or I'm grieving a mom or a sister, and you're grieving a son. Like, we all have to give ourselves the space to know that our grief matters, and there's no right or wrong way to grieve. But and you don't have to do it alone. You really don't. A lot of people feel like they've got to be stoic, they've got to have the masks up, and the reality is we all need a safe place to be able to grieve.
Yeah. I'm sure you can relate, but losing my mom, it's quite interesting because I had already mourned a lot. I never saw her a lot. And thank goodness I got to see her a year before she passed. And I went to South Africa and spent time with her. But it's very interesting of how my father, for instance, possibly would deal with grief every single day, being in the same house. It's 24/7, grief, grief, grief. Whereas for me, I'm so, you know, separated from it. I haven't seen her for so long, and I've already mourned so much just by immigrating that it didn't hit me in the first few months. Initially, the shock, scare, horror, I think that's one part of dealing with immediate trauma and stress of like losing somebody. And then a year later, it was like, yeah. And then 2.5, 3 years later, oh my gosh, mom's gone. Like, just mic drop, what the heck happened? And so I agree with you. Everybody grieves differently. And I think that a lot of the time, if you haven't lost somebody close to you or you haven't felt that grief, it's so easy to judge. Do you agree? It's so easy to be like, oh, it's only been a year or it's only been 2 years and they're already dating somebody else. Or it might be whatever it is. Or, gee, look at her. She's dressed so nicely, everything. It doesn't look like she's grieving. It's absolutely ridiculous. Humans are awful. And so, yes, so not cool. Should not be judging people for how they grieve because everybody grieves differently. And so, yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I love a somatic breathwork journey for breathing through grief and loss. And it is breathing through. I don't think it's ever an end process. It does soften the grip. I do find that with time, but
Yeah.
sometimes not. Everybody
Yeah.
is different, like you said, 3 years in. But I had somebody come and this was just last week. He did breathing through grief and loss. He'd lost his mom 50 years ago as a 10-year-old little boy.
Come
He said he'd
on.
been to psychics, he'd been to mediums, he had tried it all to keep the energy between them. And because of the conscious connected breathing, and he did go deep, he surrendered into the process. He was able to, he felt at one point, everybody's journey is different, but at one point he felt he was face to face, knees to knees with his mom, and he was looking through the lens as he was still the 10-year-old boy. And he was able to have this communication through blocks of thought with his mom. At the end of the journey, he said, I felt like I was the 60-year-old man, but my mom was with me. Like there was a new sense of renewal and peace that I had felt. And that's what came up for him.
Yeah.
I have so many different stories. Sometimes it's just people realizing I'm still meant to be here. And even though he has passed on or she has passed on, I have things to do. I am still supported. They are still around me. I can still feel like I'm safe. I can still feel sad. I can still miss them. But using the breath, I can connect to that peace again. Yeah, so many
Yeah.
different stories.
I think I wish we had more time because I love to hear these stories. And I think that so many people can connect with real stories, right? It's like this is our everyday stuff and trauma. Something I was just thinking about while you were mentioning that was um, when we don't deal with the grief, it's tough. So, whether it's that story of that gentleman or, you've lost a parent and you were really young. And back in the day, it was not something that we spoke about, especially maybe even many years ago, it wasn't cool for men. Men don't cry, men don't, it's all about keeping your emotions together and being this warrior and being tough. And not dealing with it has repercussions for everybody around you, including yourself. Yeah. And I've seen it for myself and other people. My learning from that is that I try, even in front of my children as they've grown up, to cry in front of my kids. I don't know how you feel about that, but just literally be as open as a book as you can, because we've got to teach our kids how to deal with grief as well. And I actually feel like if this is our physical being and we internalize all of this stuff and we hold it in our body, it creates sickness and disease.
Definitely does. It causes dis-ease in the body, and it's going to come out in some way, whether it's being short with your kids or all of a sudden you've got an ailment that's coming up. Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
do work with kids. I do work with families. You can imagine after a loss to
Yeah.
have the entire family go through a breathwork session, and then on the other side of that, having someone to help integrate and hold space for all of the feelings, and then to hear each other's experience and not have to talk about it, know that healing is done. And you mentioned about men. I have as many men on the mat breathing through. They need a place to let down the walls and
Yeah.
heal. They
Yeah.
have to get this out of their
Yeah.
body just as
Yeah.
much as we do as women. And I think if we can teach kids how to regulate and how
Yeah.
to let go of what is no longer serving them
Yeah.
and really tap into the wholeness and the exquisite being and the confidence of who they are,
Yeah.
that's how we can really change things in the future.
Yeah. Powerful. So important. And it's an everyday thing. You go to work or you go see people and friends and you don't know what people are struggling with. You know what I find so interesting? I was saying to a friend the other day that we as humans, because it's such a difficult subject to deal with, sometimes somebody else has lost somebody. We go to the funeral or we are spending time with them. We do not know what to say. And we can often say such hurtful things. A friend of mine many years ago lost her son to suicide. We're at the funeral, and a week later, her and I were having coffee. And she said, "You're not going to believe what somebody said to me at the funeral." I was like, "What?" She said, "No, they kind of said, you're young enough to have another child." Imagine. Imagine insensitivity. Like how is it that somebody says that? And I've thought about this for so many years. I think it's somebody who just honestly was so awkward in a situation and didn't know what to say. I honestly don't think the heart behind it was intending to hurt. I think it's just people blab something and they need something to say. And it's the thing that's top of mind. They probably regret it today or not, whatever. Maybe it was a complete shadow for them. But I think it's something that this is why this conversation is important. It's not just for like, oh, dealing with my own grief, but how do I also help other people? And what do I say? What are your thoughts on this?
It's an excellent point. The first thing I would say is hurt people hurt people.
Yeah,
I think a lot of times people are doing the best they can, but sometimes they're really awkward and very, very hurtful. In the moment, if I can take a breath, and I will teach one breath that is the most powerful breath for those going through grief, through stress, or feeling awkward in a situation. Let's regulate you so that you can show up as your best. And that would be the physiological sigh. You take a deep breath in through the nose into the belly, about 60%. Like, and then you take another sip of air through the nose. And then you relax and let go. Scientifically, that is the fastest way to regulate your nervous system. Then you've got enough blood flow to the prefrontal cortex where you can actually say something that feels aligned. So that's the first thing I would say. And the second would be, I think most people are doing the best they can. So when somebody says something so hurtful, such as that, even when you are going through so much, if you can bless them and know they didn't know what else to say. But
yeah,
what would I recommend you say? I would just say, I love you. I'm here for you.
mm,
I know this is a difficult time.
mm,
If there is something I can do, please reach out.
yeah,
I don't think there are the right words, but if you can be kind, I love you,
yeah,
help them feel safe. You regulate your system.
yeah,
We mirror each other's breath. So if you're nervous, you're going to be putting that on the person that you're there
yeah,
to support. So
yeah,
just that quick physiological sigh, deep breath in through the nose,
yes,
another sip, relax, let it out. You can do that very discreetly. I love
yeah,
you. I'm here for you. If there's anything I can do, please reach out.
yeah. I think for me, I know in yoga we teach it's kind of taking 2 sips in, quick short breaths and release. It's fabulous. Absolutely love it. On the other hand, you could also say nothing. If honestly nothing's coming up for you, you're never forced to say anything. It's okay to have silence and a pause and give a hug. And your one comment, listen, I'm here to support you. I'm sorry you're going through this. My heart goes out to you, whatever it is that feeling is, but you don't have to say anything else. Yeah, it's a really tough one. And it's because it's so sensitive. It's like we really, really need to learn to be more human or more kind-hearted about everything. So,
What you said about the pause, a pause can be so very powerful for you
right?
and that
Yeah,
person. And
yeah,
silence. If you think of the magic of music, the magic of the music is the silence between the notes. So yes, I think a pause and a smile or a hug and a regulated nervous system can make
yes.
a world of difference.
I want to hear more about what your offerings are. What are you busy with at the moment? For the audience listening, how did they tap into you? Tell us about that.
So my signature program is called From Burnout to Brilliance in 28 days. 28 days seems like a lot for a lot of people, but you can establish a habit. You can learn so much. It's self-paced. I have done it live, but it's self-paced. And you will have a lifetime access to all of these mindset tips that are so powerful, but also all of the breath work and the meditation, the 9D part of it. So that's on my website. It's in my Instagram and my Facebook bio. That is my favorite program. But if 28 days is a lot for you, I would say start with, maybe I'm doing one right now. It's called Calm Before the Holiday Storm, and it's 4 days, and you can do it live. Or you can do it self-paced in the recordings, and you can reach out to me and have me integrate. I love working one-on-one, and I have a 3-month transformational program, and I tap into all of my modalities, and we work with all areas of life. I take them
Okay.
from where they are to where they want to be, and absolutely, we use the breath as well as I supplement with recordings, so they have those for a lifetime. And I do group breathwork sessions and private breathwork sessions.
Okay.
And you said earlier about the ladies that were doing the scream and the support, and she did it the first time and a little bit more the second time and a little bit more the third time in a safe environment in a group
Yeah.
session. I just did one in Quebec for over 100 people, and one person had a somatic release, and it was like popcorn because one person released and there was a bit of sound, and the others in the room knew, oh, it's safe for me too. So a
Yeah.
group session can be really powerful, but a lot of people like one-on-ones,
Yeah.
and I have them for all different situations, outcomes you're looking for. My most popular one is called Letting Go, because we've all got stuff to let go of consciously and subconsciously. I do them online once a week, and I do them in group sessions in Niagara-on-the-Lake and other studios as well. And my biggest corporate event is called Mitigating Stress, Anxiety, and Burnout.
Hmm.
And it's a 90-minute session that includes breath work, but we tap into really simple ways to mitigate stress and help them into the 4 pillars of health when it comes to nutrition, sleep, movement, and rest.
It sounds great. So we need to forward this podcast onto a couple of friends that I'm thinking about in corporate that might really want to have you there. What a wonderful morning with you. Thank you so much for taking time to share this very, very important work that you do. You've hit on something so important here today. It's so helpful, but it's what I love. It's so actionable. There's a solution. We can do this together. And I'm so glad that we had this conversation today, which will touch every single human, like I said, and you've said as well, in one form or another in your lifetime. So thank you so much for today.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. So, guys, if you're listening, thank you for being here. If you've lost someone, or you're grieving, or you're mourning your old life, if you're an immigrant, or you've lost a pet, I know how hard that is, or struggling with your parents, maybe your parents are going through a separation, you're a teenager, you're a bit older, you feel like you're losing a parent, it's tough. Maybe you're processing a terminal illness, whatever that is, please make contact with Tabatha. All her details will be in the show notes and also in the YouTube description. If you have any other burning questions, send them to me. I will bring the people to the podcast. Have a beautiful day.